All right, welcome to the latest episode of the Coleman Power Organic Fitness Podcast. I have my latest guest here in front of me, an online health coach who helps people with the likes of fatigue. Right, Daniel, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me, Coleman. I'm delighted to be here.
No problem at all. We had such a get to know you intro before we went into this recording of this podcast. All right, we're about to honest about someone that's putting out some pretty unbelievable content. All right, so if you're not following him on the likes of Instagram, we'll have all his hashtags, all his, I'm going to say, links in the comment section below from this. People kick on over. But I suppose, Daniel, tell me where you're at, what you're doing, and where you're based first.
So I am an online health coach. I am based just outside Mullingar in a little place called Castle Pollard. But all the work I do is online, and I help people improve their energy levels. I help them get to the root cause of their issues using functional blood work, hair tissue mineral analysis, and recently genetic testing. So as you can imagine, under the banner of fatigue, there can be a lot of different things driving that, whether it be nutrient deficiencies, thyroid issues, poor sleep, stress, digestive issues. These are all the things that I help my clients overcome.
Interesting, right? So the first thing we're going to dive into head first, right? Stress. What do you say to someone that is hellbound on, I'm going to say, cortisol levels through the roof? What do we do or recommend?
Breathwork, first and foremost. Lots of different breathwork techniques. Box breathwork, 7 seconds in, 4-second hold, 7 seconds out. Lots of different systems you can have there with breathwork. Meditation is another one. Mindfulness. I'm somebody who struggled with meditation and mindfulness quite a bit, but I found that a guided meditation on YouTube is a very, very simple thing. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, once a day. Put the headphones on, lie down. That's also amazing to do. Prioritizing sleep would be another one there. Having a proper wind down routine. Having a good community of people to talk to as well. I feel that's very, very...
Yeah. Having sort of solid people around you in itself, Daniel, yeah. So would you be someone that yourself, you said, that struggled with it personally? And what were the situations that got you, I suppose, overwhelmed or in that fight or flight kind of stage that people often mention? What were the things that kind of aggravated you?
Yeah, quite a lot of things, I suppose.
Work.
Yeah, definitely work was part of it, I suppose. But leading up to that, I suppose, starting very, very young, I would have been quite an anxious and stressed child. I would have had things like asthma. I would have had things like migraines growing up, like digestive issues in my teens. A lot of that played a role and added to my stress for sure. And by the time I got to the workplace, I found my health wasn't exactly where I needed it to be. So that's when I suppose I began to seek help through the conventional system, and I was not feeling my best in any way, shape or form, but I was told that everything was normal. And a lot of these issues have been normalized and people aren't really feeling heard, I suppose. So that's when I began to take things into my own hands, and I began to change my diet a little bit. And then I realized, my anxiety and depression is suddenly a little bit better all of a sudden. I didn't realize how much control I had over this. And bit by bit, then I became friends with a very great group of lads who were health orientated and had a very holistic mentality when it came to our health overall. And they really influenced me to understand how all of these systems in the body are connected and how I have so much more control over my health than I initially thought. And that's when I gave up my job and I began to pursue helping other people in a similar situation to myself. So.
Very cool. And it's about that, maybe a selfish question in itself. With those, I have a similar background that I wasn't necessarily, I suffer with asthma, eczema and different things, autoimmune diseases and digestive. But a lot of it was down to, I suppose, the people that I was hanging around with, family members and friends, and the foods that they were currently eating, the lifestyle that they were living. Were those people that you connected with? Were they in person or were they online?
In person, yeah.
Love it.
All in person. It just kind of fell into place now, thankfully. And I think being online is great. And I've met so many amazing people online with similar interests, But yeah, face to face is always best, isn't it?
I could only agree with you 100% on
that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's why, like, I would often mention social media, amazing, right? That's where you first touch base. But going to an in-person talk or event or I'm going to say meeting, whether it's a walk, a hike, a talk, a talk is going to be your best bang for your buck because you can feel the energy. When you feel the energy, then that's something you can put into, I suppose, your own lifestyle from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Community is so, so important. And that's a major thing that's lacking. A major, major thing that's lacking. And I suppose I'm 32 now soon. I feel sorry for the teenagers, especially now that are coming off with social media and often the lack of purpose and community that they have and how that's going to influence our stress and our health and our energy levels in the long run as well.
Yeah, and through that, there's a lot of, well, look, in any, I suppose, generation, from here on in, there's going to be that ultra-processed foods. There's going to be, I'm going to say, the temptation of everything else in between that's not healthy for us. But I suppose I want to even touch on, like, histamine overloads, right? There's something that can come from eating highly processed foods, and it's something that can not only come from ultra processed foods, but can also come from, like, say, healthy foods. I'd love you to further expand on that because I remember coming into that context, I was like, you know what? I'm not eating. I was not eating. Let's say it was not eating fish because I thought fish was bad for a while. Then I was not eating meats. Then I started eating more nuts and seeds. Then I was like, my asthma started to come back. What is the story? I thought I was trying to be healthy. But yeah, let's expand on that histamine overload. Let's go.
Absolutely, yeah. I suppose I'll preface it first and foremost by emphasizing that before we talk about it, that often the foundations, people are lacking those first and foremost. So having a whole food, healthy diet with enough high quality animal protein, the sleep, the stress, not too much alcohol. These are all the foundational things first and foremost before somebody should go down any kind of rabbit hole involving histamine. But histamine is a natural compound in the body, so it's also important for our immune system and digestion and brain function as well. So people can be sensitive to histamines, and it can cause different issues like headaches or rashes or even anxiety and gut issues in sensitive people also. And it's naturally occurring in the body, but it is also present in certain foods. So in processed foods, it's quite high. Okay, so as a general rule of thumb, fresh foods aren't usually high in histamine. So the fresher the food, the less histamine there, and the less of a reaction somebody who's sensitive to histamine would actually have. But then there are foods that are fermented that are amazing for our health, like in general sense. Kimchi and like aged cheeses would be another one, and any kind of ferments, red wine. These are all things that can be high in histamine, and that can give people these issues, and it can be very confusing because they feel like they're eating healthy, but maybe they have some tinned fish and that's quite high in histamine, and that can cause a reaction, and it can be very, very confusing, and very quickly people can be left with almost nothing to eat if they don't really understand what's going on. But the different reasons that somebody could be sensitive to histamine could be maybe some digestive issues, like damage to the digestive system. Because if the digestive system isn't balanced, then you're not going to be producing the enzyme that allows us to break down histamine. So that is one reason. And then there's obviously the foods themselves, but then there's also something called estrogen dominance, which is too much estrogen, which is that main female hormone in the body. And when somebody is overloaded with estrogen, then there can be some histamine responses there also. And that's why it can be even more confusing for women when they're at different stages in their cycle, because they become sensitive to particular foods depending on what stage of the cycle they're in. So,
but I'm just going to step in there for a mini microsecond. You are one intelligent son of a gun, all right? If you haven't already noticed that Angela is able to literally reel off all the different foods, both for men and women, the specific needs. So straight away, if you're not following this man, I highly recommend you. This is him. He's laughing and smiling, and we're having the crack here now, because that's what we want, I suppose, people to realize, right? That there are some people that do know what they're talking about, know their SH1T, and that are sound at the same time. That's really important, right? But then, sorry to interrupt you there, but by God, you're a man who's worth $1 million.
Appreciate that. And have you had issues with histamines yourself?
I have. I went totally off a processed food diet. I mean, I would have had, not all at once, but I was trying to get into, at the start of my health career, I was like, right, let's do this. Sauerkraut, kimchi, tofu, tempeh, plant-based, you betcha. Let's get all those in and an old, if I didn't mention it already, a kombucha on the drink at the same time, right? Let's not eat too much meat now. I heard meat was bad for me. Let's go with, on the brown bread, some peanut butter. And you know what? We're not going with dairy. With dairy also gets me. I'm also going to go with a plant-based yogurt. That's going to get me. And I was like, I couldn't have literally poor breath or asthma as a result of this. I was like, what is going on? And I kept on eating it day after day. But again, that's the thing. Sometimes, this is myself, I put myself as my own best example. We don't just do like try and do one thing. I was trying to do 6 throughout the day of those high histamine foods, but also super beneficial out on their own right. But that's the issue that I came up with, that I came into. And lo and behold, I was through coaches and mentors of my own nutritionists that were like, I mean, you can't just really eat all that Coleman in one day and literally expect to be healthy out the other side of it. I was like, what's the problem? They're like, histamine overload. That's what you got right now. And I was like, well, I never. Healthy is just as simple as it is black and white. But that's it. That's the time.
I had asthma myself growing up as well, you know, and a big part of it was I wasn't able to like breathe through my nose very well. And often I find if I have a very heavy histamine meal now, even to this day, I might find it's a little bit more difficult to breathe through my nose. So that's knowledge I would have really liked for sure when I was younger, to understand how that can affect my breathing in a massive way.
Yeah. No, and throughout that, breathwork is something that you mentioned, very interesting. We had a Natasha, who's also a breathwork coach, on very recently on the podcast. It's something that I love, having clear nostrils, if you're allowed to say that, airways to breathe in. And that's actually what you're meant to breathe through. Patrick McKeown, Oxygen Advantage. Is that the book?
Yep.
I just knew you would have read that. Yeah, very good book. One that I've listened to several times, at least twice. All about breathing in through your nose and also out through your nose. And now that the people that know who I am, I've been trying to run with that whole technique. That is a job, and that'll slow you down, Coleman. Right? So
absolutely, and I suppose it's that stress response as well, and that was something. So I was breathing through my mouth routinely up until I was like 21 or 22, and part of that is histamine foods. Part of that is understanding different things that were giving me allergies in my environment, like fabric softeners and perfumes and aftershaves and that kind of thing. These are the things that kind of closed my nose up in a massive way. So yeah, allergies as well was another big one there.
God, we're very similar. So what would you use now for, I'm going to say, colognes, if any? I'm just putting it out there. We haven't dabbled in and touched on it. What's your thoughts?
Tea tree oils are the next best thing. You know, don't last as long. Don't wreck our hormones as well, as long as you don't use too much of them. So I put that on seldomly enough. And yeah, I do have to be careful around particular things in my environment. And I think when you have a history of histamine intolerance and gut issues and that kind of thing, that can kind of make you a little bit more sensitive to things in your environment. I suppose the way I would look at the digestive system is it's kind of like separates the outside world from the inside world. So it's almost like a tube that runs through us all the way through, from our mouth and our nose all the way through. So when that is a little bit compromised, that can make you more susceptible to allergy as well.
Yeah. God, we're learning loads here. Right. Next topic I'd love to touch on, the likes of heavy metals, right? Let's go. What are the ones that we should be staying away from I suppose? Yeah, let's go with it.
Yeah. Heavy metals, I suppose. First and foremost, before we talk about heavy metals, it would be good to understand minerals, because heavy metals disrupt our minerals. So when we understand how important minerals are for our health, then we can understand how tricky heavy metals can be, because they disrupt the mineral balance in our body. So minerals are often described as kind of the spark plugs of life. You know, our entire body runs off minerals. They create our enzymes, which then create our hormones. So I suppose the most common ones that people would be familiar with would be magnesium. It's another big one there. Or introducing a parasympathetic, relaxed state in the body. Magnesium is very, very important for that. So magnesium deficiency can make somebody a little bit stressed out. We have iron, another one for our immune health, energy levels, you name it. Chromium, important for blood sugar balance. So all these minerals run all these systems of our body, and heavy metals are kind of sneaky in a way, because they look very similar molecularly to minerals. So our body tries to use them in different areas where these minerals are. So I suppose a big one would be, for example, selenium. So selenium is very important for our thyroid health and our liver health. And one of the heavy metals, mercury, the body confuses mercury for selenium. So it tries to use it in the thyroid, it tries to use it in the liver, and this can cause inflammation in these areas of the body. So it's just understanding that the body gets a little bit confused with heavy metals such as mercury, such as aluminium, such as arsenic, cadmium, and that can disrupt a lot of processes in the body. And it's not a case of whether you're going to be exposed to heavy metals or not. You're always going to be exposed. They're ubiquitous with our environment. They're in our food. They're in our air. So I would say foundationally, being as healthy as you can and having the right nutrition coming in first and foremost is what you do to allow your body to be able to process heavy metals or toxic metals a little bit better.
Yeah, very good. Right, so like sweating out toxins, I suppose, something you've discussed on the likes of your own Instagram and social media pages. Like, how do we do that? Or what would you recommend?
Exercise is always the big one there. That seems to be the best. I've seen studies that show they compare like sweating in a sauna versus sweating via exercise, and they measure the heavy metal content of the sweat, and they find that sweating via exercise is much better to excrete heavy metals, with the exception of, say, mercury. So sweating as much as you can is a good bet for many different reasons, but to help your body process heavy metals is certainly one of those.
Yeah. Are you someone that's a regular sauna goer where it's in the likes of the barn or anything after a gym session?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we have one there in our jiu-jitsu gym there in Mullingar, Lakeland Jiu-Jitsu. I'll just shout them out.
Shout out for the boys.
Lovely little barrel sauna there, plunge pool, so it's great to have it.
Yeah, love that. Love that myself. As a healthy activity that can be part of a community or a solo thing to fit it in whenever you most certainly can. And I love having those healthy habits. And just for example of the sauna, you can literally for €10 anywhere in the pretty much in Europe, let's say the world, go for €10, go for a gym, go for a sauna, and have a shower for €10. That's an absolute steal. You wouldn't even get a meal out for a tenner these days.
So we're blessed, like, what can we say?
Absolutely blessed. Health hack of the century. For €10, you can be spoiled.
Yeah, they're taking over. They're everywhere now. They really are. There's even one there beside the lake in Mullingar, and you see them popping up in Collinstown as well, close to where I am. So it's great to see the sauna culture coming up here in Ireland.
Yeah, it's typically, I'm right in saying this, from either Finland or Sweden, that they pretty much have one in every household.
Yeah. I'd well believe it. And they're quite healthy as well, it's no surprise.
Yeah. I love all these. Would you be someone to follow, I'm going to say, biohackers on either social media?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. It can be good. I do think getting back to nature first and foremost is always our best bet, but there are little things that we can do to, mitigate the effects of sitting here in front of this screen all day,
Totally, and that brings me on just lovely to the likes of screen times that I'll touch on, the likes of sleep, right? For touch on, I suppose, sleep.
Yeah, sleep. I suppose in relation to screen time and our light environment, our circadian health is one thing that people often overlook in terms of it can affect our sleep in a massive way. So all of these lights that were around, the spectrum that comes out of them on our phone, on our laptop, the spectrum is a little bit unnatural, to say the least. So circadian health is really about mimicking the sun throughout the day and how the spectrum of light changes as the sun rises and falls. And we kind of disrupt that really and those processes when we're on these screens, and our bodies run on light. It affects all aspects of our health. All our hormones are somewhat dictated or controlled by light. We are circadian beings. So it's important to consider that, especially if you're struggling with sleep issues, that, screens late at night can affect that. And it's the blue light in particular, really, that's what really stimulates us. It causes a rise in cortisol, which can be a good thing or a bad thing, depending upon the time of the day, So it basically signals our body that it's kind of 12 o'clock in the day when we're on these screens, when we're exposed to that blue light. So when you're on it late into the evening, it's kind of giving your body mixed signals and confusing it as to what time of the day it actually is. So there's simple hacks you can do. I have one there for iPhone users. You can just kind of tap your phone 3 times and it goes completely red. I don't know if you can see that, That's one. There's great software called Iris software as well. You have to set it up. Yeah, you won't get it.
I was there quickly first time. I was like, "Would you please come on?"
I'll send it on to you. I'll send it on to you. But it's really easy to do. It takes 2 minutes, and that one's free. The Android users, unfortunately, has to get a paid app. It's like 15 quid. But honestly, it's the best 15 quid I've ever spent on this laptop is to have it. There's different settings. So during the day, it just takes the blue light off it. So it's going to reduce eye strain and that kind of thing. And then in the evening time, if I do want to be a little bit bold and maybe watch something when the sun goes down, I can change it completely red. I don't recommend it, but sometimes you can be a little bit bold from time to time, and it doesn't disrupt your sleep too much.
Something that I would use myself is, because if people were to look at my screen time on my phone, they would see it at the bottom. But I also do it for work. This is work right now, lads.
That's that's what I tell myself as well.
I do myself do it to work. I scroll down, cat video followed by cat video followed by cat video. But blue light blocking glasses is something that I would use and have used religiously for a long period of time.
They're great, yeah. I have a pair myself. They're super.
Yeah, they're very good.
Same effect. And I suppose it's the lights in our environment as well, the ones over our heads, and as things get more energy efficient, I'm sure you're familiar with all these new cars that are blinding everyone on the roads and you're passing by them with these bright, like white lights. They've kind of shifted from orange, which is a little bit more calm, and they've shifted towards blue, which is more energy efficient, but a lot worse for our physiology and a lot more stimulating, and you see the street lamps being changed from kind of orange to white as well. And, energy efficiency is great, but it does have an effect on our health in some way as well.
Yeah. Like Dan, I'm going to ask you this kind of final question before we wrap up, right? If there's something that you know right now that you nearly wish that you knew when you started, health-wise, what would it be?
That your digestive health and your nutritional status has such a profound impact on your mental, emotional health that's just not nearly appreciated enough, And as a man growing up who had pretty significant mental, emotional distress, anxiety, depression, all this kind of thing, I had no idea how much my nutritional status and my poor digestive health was influencing that, and I think it's very sad that a lot of people growing up are experiencing that, and it's in part at least due to having poor digestive function or poor nutrition coming in.
Yeah, there you go. So focusing in on the likes of your foods to improve the likes of your gut is going to be and have a huge effect on your overall long term. Daniel, just because of your time here, you let me know where's the best place for people to reach out to you in relation to where they can get in contact with you if they want to learn a little bit more, or if you're taking on any more clients at this moment in time. Shoot out those most certainly places now.
Yeah, absolutely. Taking on new clients. So Instagram is the best place to get me. Dan_Ancestral Wellness. Ancestralwellness.ie is the website. And yeah, they're the best places to get me. Email Daniel@ancestralwellness.ie.
Right, so Daniel, I'll tag all those in the show notes so people can click underneath here and send them directly over to you. Right? Thank you so much for coming on this week's podcast. I always end this show by saying stay tuned, stay classy, and keep it organic.